America's national parks are some of the most beautiful places on Earth. But for some, these stunning landscapes become the backdrop for a terrifying mystery. Officially, there isn't a single public list of how many people have gone missing in our parks, but estimates suggest hundreds of cold cases remain unsolved. Their stories have gone cold, and their families are left with nothing but questions. We're often told these are just tragic accidents, hikers who got lost or weren't prepared for the elements. But what if that's not the whole story? What if there's a strange and disturbing pattern that links many of these cases? A pattern that defies easy explanation. Today, we're venturing deep into the wilderness to investigate the unsettling disappearances that haunt our national parks. The vanishing on Holy Cross Mountain. To understand just how bizarre these cases can be, let's go back to September 24th, 2005, on Colorado's formidable Mount of the Holy Cross. Michelle Vanek, a 35-year-old mother of four, was trying to summit the peak with a hiking partner. Though a dedicated triathlete, Michelle wasn't an experienced high-altitude hiker, and partway up the mountain, she started to feel sick. Her partner said he would continue to the summit while she could either wait or start heading down a trail he pointed out, and he would catch her, but he never did. Michelle Vanek was never seen alive again. What came next was one of the largest search and rescue operations in Colorado's history. For 8 grueling days, hundreds of people, helicopters, and dog teams scoured the treacherous terrain. They found nothing. As years went by, the case went cold, becoming a haunting local legend. Then, 17 years later, in 2022, the case took a shocking turn. A hiker and his son found a single hiking boot propped up on a rock, far from the main trails. It was later confirmed to be Michelle's. The discovery was on the opposite side of the mountain from where she was last seen, an area that had been covered in deep snow during the first search. This prompted a renewed effort. In the fall of 2023, the leader of the Vail Mountain Rescue Group, Scott Beebe, had a vivid dream where he felt Michelle's spirit conveyed that she didn't want to be found by men. Taking this strange inspiration, Beebe asked the women on his team to lead a new search with a fresh perspective. In September 2024, this team made a breakthrough. In a rugged, hard-to-reach area, they found more of Michelle's belongings. After nearly 19 years of silence, the mountain was finally giving up its secrets, offering a glimmer of closure to a family that had waited for 2 decades. The missing 411 connection. Michelle's story is baffling, but it's just one of many. When you look at the sheer number of disappearances, some people see patterns, strange similarities that are hard to ignore. This is where the work of David Paulides comes in. He's a former police detective who has spent years compiling a controversial database of these cases, which he calls Missing 411. Paulides has identified unusual factors that he says often appear in these disappearances. Some of the most common include the person vanishing almost instantly near family or friends. Search dogs are mysteriously unable to find a scent, or the trail just stops cold. Victims are sometimes found days or weeks later in areas that had already been searched multiple times. In some cases, the weather suddenly turns bad right after the person goes missing, making it harder to search. And maybe strangest of all, victims are sometimes found without shoes or clothes, even in freezing weather, or in places that would have been almost impossible for them to get to. While many search and rescue experts argue these situations can be explained by the harsh realities of the wilderness, Politis's work suggests a cluster of cases that he believes defy conventional logic. One of the most heartbreaking examples involves a child who vanished in the blink of an eye. The boy who played hide and seek and never came back. On June 14, 1969, the Martin family was on a Father's Day camping trip in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. 6-year-old Dennis Martin was playing hide and seek with his brother and other kids near a clearing called Spence Field. The plan was for the kids to sneak up and surprise the adults. The other boys went one way, and Dennis, wearing a bright red t-shirt, went another. His father saw him step behind a bush. Minutes later, the other boys jumped out, laughing. But Dennis wasn't there. In the 3 to 5 minutes that had passed, Dennis Martin had completely vanished. His father desperately started calling his name and searching, but there was nothing. No tracks, no sounds. That night, a massive thunderstorm dumped inches of rain, washing away any clues and making an immediate search nearly impossible. The search for Dennis Martin became the largest in the history of the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. Over 1,400 people, including park rangers and Green Berets, scoured 56 square miles of dense wilderness. They found absolutely nothing. The dogs couldn't find a scent. No clothing, no shoes, no sign of the boy at all. One of the strangest clues came from another family hiking about 7 miles away that same afternoon. They reported hearing a sickening scream and then seeing a rough-looking man moving quickly through the woods. The FBI reportedly dismissed the lead at the time, believing it was too far away to be connected. To this day, the case remains one of the most perplexing mysteries in the national park system. Dennis Martin stepped behind a bush and was never seen again. It's one thing for a tourist or a child to get lost, but what happens when it's one of the people who knows the wilderness best? On January 13th, 1980, Paul Fugate, a 41-year-old park ranger, was on duty at the Chiricahua National Monument in Arizona. He told a colleague he was going for a short walk to check a nature trail. He left his radio and keys, stepped out of the visitor center in his full uniform, and was never seen again. Paul Fugate is the only park ranger in U.S. history to go missing on duty and never be found. Massive searches turned up nothing. Investigators have long suspected foul play, with theories about drug smugglers operating in the area, but no definitive proof has ever emerged. In 2018, the National Park Service increased the reward for information to $60,000, citing new information. But the case is still cold. How does an experienced ranger in his own park on a familiar trail disappear just steps from his station? He wasn't unprepared. He simply walked out the door and vanished, becoming another baffling statistic. Conclusion. From Michelle Vanek in Colorado to Dennis Martin in the Smokies and Ranger Paul Fugate in Arizona, these stories are more than just tragic accidents. They're part of a deeply unsettling pattern. The official explanation is often death by misadventure, people getting lost, suffering from hypothermia, or falling victim to animal attacks. And while those things definitely happen, they don't always account for the high strangeness factors seen in so many of these cases. The instant disappearances, the failed canine searches, and the bodies found in previously searched areas. The national parks encompass millions of acres of untamed wilderness, places where it's easy to get lost and even easier for evidence to disappear. Are these strange disappearances the work of criminals using the vastness of the parks as their hunting ground? Or is there something else at play that we don't fully understand? The mystery of those who have vanished in our national parks endures, a chilling reminder that for all our modern technology, there are still places where you can step behind a bush and never be seen again. What do you think is happening in our national parks? Is there a logical explanation for these clusters of strange disappearances? Or is there a darker truth waiting to be uncovered? Let me know your theory in the comments below, and do subscribe to the channel